kids moved aside as the blue and white lights lit the street, joining the strobing lights from the ambulance already on the scene. Car 7 on scene, EMS also on scene. Rogers put the radio down and took a step towards the house. Flights came up behind him, eyes sweeping the scene as he assessed the situation. That was why they made such great partners, he reflected as he mounted the steps and heard the wheels of the stretcher coming their way. Flights was methodical, a planner. He was always keeping his eyes peeled for trouble. Rogers was a man of action, a muscular bull who dwarfed most perps and cowed even the most belligerent of drunks. The shift captain often called Car 7 the toolbox because it contained one very careful screwdriver and one very sturdy hammer. The EMTs were coming out, the woman riding on the stretcher moaning into her oxygen mask. She was in her late 40s, Roger assessed, and looked like she'd taken a spill. There was a cut on her forehead, a long dribble of red down the front of her shirt where it had soaked in, and by the way she was moaning and blinking, Rogers thought she might have a concussion. One of the EMTs looked up as he noticed the burly cop, telling him they had the woman taken care of, but Rogers put a hand out before they could walk past him. "I need a statement. We need to know what happened." "Officer, I can appreciate your need to do your job, but this woman's in bad shape. She's suffered something pretty traumatic, and we need to get her checked out." Yeah, Rogers knew she'd been through one hell of an accident. The dispatcher had been pretty clear about the urgency of the call. The call had apparently come in about 7:40, about 15 minutes ago. The woman was saying something about a prowler. It was some kid who wouldn't get off the porch, and the lady said that he was wearing an upsetting mask. She hadn't elaborated on what it was that made it so upsetting, but when someone had started banging on her door, she had begun to scream. And that was when the dispatcher had advised a car to hurry to the scene. She had one of those life alert necklaces too, and the paramedics had beaten them by a nose. "I just need a minute. If this person is out there doing things like this, then we need a description." The paramedic leaned down and talked softly to the woman, her face moving strangely beneath the oxygen mask, and Rogers waited as flights took statements from the few people around the scene. He didn't think the woman was going to speak with him for a moment, but when she pulled the mask back a little, he breathed in a sigh of relief. She was the only real witness at the moment, and without her, they'd be hard-pressed to find the guy. "He was short," she said breathlessly. "I thought he was a kid at first. 5 feet, maybe less, in a white sheet. It looked like a death shroud, the kind of thing that was spattered with dirt and fake blood. I hope it was fake blood. They were barefoot, the feet black like a dead person." Rogers was nodding, taking down notes, and trying to compile some ideas on who he was looking for. Who the hell let their kid go out barefoot in a sheet? He didn't know, but it would make them easier to find. "You told dispatch he had an upsetting mask. What kind of mask did he have, ma'am?" The woman started shaking a little, her eyes getting hazy as she thought about it, and the paramedics started to move off before she started talking again. Her voice was steady, high, on the verge of hysterics. "The mask looked like my late husband. He died in a car crash, and it looked just the way it did when I went to identify the body. His eyes were gone, his nose was broken, his lips had burst, his cheeks were... But the paramedics were moving away now, taking her to the ambulance and telling Rogers that she needed medical attention. not to relive something that was clearly making her condition worse. As they packed her in, Rogers watched it drive away as he closed her front door and went to speak with Flights. "Any luck?" he asked, the other officer wishing a mother and her daughter a good night as they headed off for more trick-or-treating. "Not so much. No one seems to have seen this kid, whoever they are." "Well, I guess we can start canvassing the area. It was almost half an hour ago, though. Who knows where the kid could..." But the radio squawked to life then, calling for Car 7 and asking them to head to a nearby house. "The owner is advising they have a similar encounter with a kid in an unsettling mask." Rogers grabbed the handset and told Julia to send them the address. He and Flights hopped in the car, and as the address came through the computer and Rogers confirmed it was only a street up, the kid hadn't gone very far, it seemed, and as they weaved through the assembled kids, little goblins on their way for treats, Rogers couldn't help but feel a pang of longing. This would have been Claire's 9th Halloween. Rogers should be getting pictures of his wife and daughter as they went about their trick-or-treating, or, even better, been out there with them. He should have been preparing for Thanksgiving and Christmas, figuring out a schedule to visit his parents and Lily's, but that was all over now. There would be cold comfort and warm liquor to get him through the holidays, and a bottle of Jack on his nightstand would be waiting for him when he got off at 11. "Up there, partner," Flight said, and Rogers shook his head as he pulled up onto the curb, and they approached the blue ranch-style home. The guy on the porch didn't need paramedics, but he looked distinctly shaken. He was a big guy, the flannel shirt showing off his broad shoulders and large arms, and the little cap on his head made Roger think he was supposed to be a lumberjack or something. He looked up when they came up the street, seeming glad but not particularly relieved. "They headed off down Lafayette," he said, pointing left towards the line of streetlights that led deeper into the neighborhood. "They were wearing a mask that... It looked like my dead wife. I don't know how I could. No one saw her after she died except for me, but it looked exactly like her. I asked them what the hell they were playing at once the initial shock wore off, and they just turned and walked off." "When you say they couldn't have known what she looked like, what do you mean?" Rogers asked, making notes. "My wife, she died when we were rock climbing about 3 years ago. One of her anchors came out, and her line caught her just as she slammed into the edge of the mountain. She died instantly. It broke her neck, but I remember rappelling down and finding her face, a squishy mass of bloody flesh. I was the only one who saw her like that, other than the rescue guys and the mortician, I guess. There's no way a kid could have known what she looked like when she died. No way." "How long ago did they come by?" Rogers asked, hoping they were close. "I guess about 10 minutes. I don't understand it. It's not possible. Shouldn't be possible. But Rogers cut him off. "Do you need medical attention, sir? If not, we're going to go after this kid. They've been causing a lot of stir, and we'd like to figure it out before they get too far away." "No," the guy said, getting up and heading for the door. I'm fine. I think I'll just head to bed." He went inside and turned the porch light off, leaving the two of them in a strange semi-darkness. The kids quiet as they moved past the cruiser as it sat half on the sidewalk. "I'm gonna go head up the sidewalk and see if I can pick up his trail. Take the cruiser and head up Lafayette and see if you can catch him. Radio me if you hear anything, and I'll do the same." "Sounds like a plan, partner," Fight said, hopping in behind the wheel as Rogers walked through the thinning sea of trick-or-treaters. It was ticking closer and closer to 9 the time when most of the front porch lights generally went off and the kiddos headed home with their spoils. As he walked, Rogers scanned the crowd, looking for anyone in a shroud and a unique mask that seemed to change depending on the person. Rogers didn't know how that could be, but kids these days had all kinds of weird stuff. Maybe they did it through color patterns or subliminal signals or something like that. Regardless of the how, they were causing a disturbance that had potentially put someone in the hospital. Rogers needed to find him and put a stop to this before it was... No! No! Stay away from me! Rogers snapped his head to the left, looking towards the sound. The kids were scattering, some of them screaming, and he could see someone on the porch who was backing away from someone in a sheet. They were looming over the screamer, their back to Rogers, and when he approached, they turned and looked at him out of the corner of their eye. He got a brief glimpse of a girl's face, a young girl's face, before she took off running into the house. Rogers had drawn his gun and was proceeding forward to apprehend this whatever it was when he heard what the scared little man was gibbering. He heard it, and it froze him in place. Not you. Can't be you. I killed you. I killed you. I killed you so long ago. He went right on saying it, too, as Flights came up the stairs, rocking and shaking as Flights looked from him to Roger. Cuff him and call it in. Call what in exactly? Flights asked, his gun lowered. He's talking about having killed somebody. That sounds like an admission of guilt to me. I want to go get this thing that ran through the house. Just make sure he doesn't go anywhere till I check back, okay? Flights nodded, and Rogers was off and through the house at a sprint. He was lucky he could catch her before she hopped the fence. He wasn't likely to be lucky, and when he came to the kitchen and found the back door wide open, he expected the only thing he would see was a pair of legs going over the wooden slats. Instead, he found her kneeling beside a large tree in the back, digging up the earth with her hands. Freeze! Don't move! I don't want to... But when she turned to look at him, the words died in his mouth. It was Claire. She was kneeling in the dirt, digging with her soft little hands. And when she looked up at him, her face held the same expression it had on the occasion that he had caught her doing something she knew she shouldn't. She looked up at him with mischievous knowledge, and when he looked at the spot she'd been digging, he saw something else. It was hard to take his eyes off her. She looked exactly the way she had before the accident. She looked like she had the last time he had seen her, when she had run to him after school and wrapped her arms around him like she had missed him all day. They'd been getting ready to drive home, the three of them, but Flights had called him and said they had an emergency. Flights had come to the school to get him, and his wife and Claire had taken the car home. His wife had kissed him, his daughter had said that she loved him, and then they had driven away forever. They had been hit by a semi on the way home, and the next time he had seen them, they were in the morgue. Well, what was left of them was in the morgue. Beside her in the dirt were bones. Rogers was afraid to look at them for too long. He was afraid that if he looked away, Claire would disappear, and he'd never see her again. He knew she couldn't be real. He'd seen her and his wife into the ground. But when the girl looked up, Rogers looked up from the bones, and they locked eyes. "Trick or treat," Claire whispered, and then she disappeared, like ground fog with the dawn. The bones would turn out to belong to another girl, Bethany Taylor. She wasn't alone. There were 4 other girls buried out there. but Bethany was the one that the owner wouldn't stop talking about. He said that Bethany had come to trick-or-treat, wearing the flowing shroud and staring at him, and that was when he had started screaming. He never denied it, turning himself in and admitting to the crimes. Rogers and Flights were commended for their work, but Rogers had received something more than an accommodation that night. He'd gotten to see his daughter again, and to him, she would always be the one who had shown him the way to those girls. The bottle of whiskey was still on his nightstand a month later, a reminder that maybe there was more to life than slipping into oblivion. Officer Rogers had certainly received a trick and a treat that Halloween.
Good evening, everyone. It's me, Dr. Plague. Thank you so much for joining us for tonight's show. If you think you might like a little more spooky in your life, then please feel free to click on one of the videos we have up here. Maybe look at one of the playlists if you're trying to get caught up. I know, there's so many videos on the channel. There's so many series that are going at the same time. Sometimes you just need a little refresher course, and I gotta say, I always enjoy the views. If you're not subscribed, feel free to hit that subscribe button. Maybe hit the bell so you don't miss anything. We upload a lot on this channel, so you won't want to miss a single story as they come out. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click on the Amazon link down there. There's quite a few books in my Amazon account. You can have a look, and if you'd like a signed copy, get up with me through email, and I'll be happy to work something out with you. Also, there's links to my Patreon, and you can become a member on the channel if you'd like your spooky a little bit early. Patrons and members on the $5 tier get their videos 12 hours early. That's in the morning as opposed to in the evening. Patrons at the $10 level also get a signed copy of my book anytime I write one. Speaking of my patrons, you should see them appearing right now. Just wanted to take a minute to say how much I appreciate all of you. Patrons, subscribers, however you give to the channel. I really appreciate everything you do, and it truly touches me that you have chosen to support the channel in this way. Well, that's enough for now. Till next time, Dr. Plague, signing off. Have a wonderful evening.